Welcome everyone. I'm so excited to have you on our online class today. This was actually supposed to be a webinar, and many of you were on with me a couple weeks ago when I attempted a live webinar, and then my country internet shut us all down, and we were super bummed because we had a bunch of people on live and lost all of you guys. And so, as promised, here is the video of the Essential Oil Hacks for Homesteaders webinar. So, today, in this video, you will learn, first off, a little bit about my story. I know I always appreciate it when I can find out how someone came to an idea or a conclusion or a shift in their life or their journey. So I'm going to share a bit of that. And as far as my story goes today, I'm going to give you my top recipes and tips for using oils to replace some of the junky products on your homestead, some of the chemical products or things that you've been buying and you're not quite sure how to find or make a natural alternative for. So I'm going to give you my best recipes. These are the ones I'm actually using on a regular basis. And then lastly, I'm going to show you how you can affordably get good quality oils. Now, some of you already have essential oil collections or you have a company you prefer, and that's fine. However, I know many of you do not. And I know that because you're sending me emails saying, help me find good oils that I can afford. And so I wouldn't give you all these recipes and then leave you without some options. And so I'm going to give you those options and show you how you can save money and get free stuff with your essential oils at the end of the webinar. So stick around for that. If you've ever been to one of my webinars or online presentations before, you know I'm all about solid information. I do not like fluff. So expect this to be a content-heavy webinar. I don't do generic, vague suggestions. It's going to be very detailed. So be sure to grab a notepad or a pen and paper, whatever, so you can jot down some notes. Now, some of these slides are fairly complicated, not complicated, but detailed recipes. So don't feel like you have to copy all those recipes down. I am going to be sending you an email. If you registered for the webinar, you'll get an email with links to those recipes. So jot down little notes or tidbits that I might talk about, but don't feel like you have to get all those recipe information down right away because we're going to go too fast to make that a possibility. Alrighty, so some of the results you can expect when you implement the information from today's class. First off, you're going to have clarity, yay for clarity, on which essential oils are going to be the best choice for detoxing your homestead. So you're going to know which oils are going to be good, how to interchange oils, and just what direction you need to head next. You're also going to have very doable recipes that you could literally make today if you wanted, if you have the ingredients, which you probably will because my ingredients are pretty basic. And then lastly, you're going to have confidence in selecting and choosing essential oils that will work for you and for the parts of your homestead you're wanting to detox. So we have some really good stuff. I'm so excited. Let's just get right into it. First off, a little bit more about me so you know who's talking to you today. My name is Jo Winger, and for those of you who don't know me, I am a wife, a mom, a modern-day homesteader, a blogger, and a business owner. This is my family, my husband and my 3 kids. I have a 6-year-old, an almost 4-year-old, and an almost 1-year-old. So we have very, very busy lives. We also homeschool. We run all of our homestead stuff, work from home, and so very active family. We also live out in the middle of nowhere in Wyoming, very rural, which is why my internet doesn't work too great. And it's a little community where we live definitely has more cows than people. So we love living out here, has its challenges, but we wouldn't trade it for the world. So when I first started getting into this homesteading lifestyle, I was very conventional and still very skeptical about natural things or natural claims. In fact, if you would have known me 10 years ago, you would have not expected me to end up being the homestead blogger girl that I am today. And I definitely would never have thought I would end up being a fan or a proponent of essential oils, natural remedies, organic lifestyle, anything like that. I grew up very conventionally, probably like many of you. The standard American diet, I'm talking hot dogs, soda pop, ramen noodles, the whole 9 yards. Whenever we were sick, we went to the doctor to get antibiotics, whether we needed them or not. And, it was just a very conventional lifestyle for a kid growing up in the 90s, pretty normal. Organic wasn't quite the trend as it is today. And funny little side note, my dad, what he did for a living was he was a farm chemical salesman my entire childhood. So that meant we had every chemical known to man, Roundup and beyond, in our garage. We sprayed everything. Like, I'm talking if it was a dandelion or a thistle in the yard, it got sprayed. Even our coffee cups in our house and like all the baseball caps we had, because he was a salesman or a rep, he would get all these products that had chemical names on them. So like growing up, all the coffee cups in our house had chemicals named, right on the coffee cup. So kind of crazy. And to this day, he still uses his chemicals. He's very much a fan. So that makes quite an interesting conversation sometimes at holidays when we're together. But we work it out. It's all good. But yeah, so that was my childhood. I was not set up to be this natural, organic homesteader girl at all. When I started hearing about essential oils almost 5 years ago, I was skeptical, probably like many of you. Back then, essential oils were definitely not mainstream. Now, we might not consider them full mainstream today, but there's so much more awareness now than there was then. Back then, when you'd mention essential oils, everyone would be like, what are you talking about? Is that like coconut oil? Like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And, that was my perception when I first heard about them. Once I did understand kind of what they were, I thought, they probably have some value in making things smell nice, but I thought surely they don't do much beyond that. I actually had a friend share oils with me. She started just talking about essential oils. She was using them and got some cool results. And I totally blew her off. I was like, yeah, that sounds nice. Okay, I'll talk to you later. So it wasn't something that just grabbed my attention right away. So what changed? Well, she gave me a bottle to try, and I finally cracked open the lid. It took me a while because I kind of ignored it for a while, and used this oil, and it was a respiratory oil. And I instantly, when I used it on my husband and myself, I felt the effects of it. I felt our airways feel more free and more clear. I thought, whoa, that's surely a coincidence, right? Like, no way did that just actually work. Well, after 5 or 10 of those experiences with different oils, I decided, well, probably not a coincidence. Let me look into these little bottles a little bit more. And so I decided to invest in a kit, and I started doing everything I could to learn about oils and experiment and try different ways to use them with my family and around our homestead. Fast forward to today. Essential oils have actually become my full-time profession in addition to blogging. Like, how crazy is that? I have had the honor of teaching thousands of homesteaders and people like you who are listening today how to use essential oils. And I even had the honor of co-hosting the largest online essential oil educational event to date in 2015. So I got to partner with chemists and scientists and researchers and doctors and practitioners, and we brought all of this education and all these tips and recipes to the public. And it was really the first event of its kind. It was extremely exciting, and this was from the girl who was once quite a skeptic. So it's been an extremely rewarding journey. That's why I'm sharing oils with you today. I love teaching people how to get these oils into their hands, how to use these oils, and how to get results from these oils. And this picture really sums that up. This group of people is just a very, very small fraction of some of the people who I have been able to get to know and have contact through from sharing oils on the blog. Now, some of these people are friends of friends of friends who I shared oils with, and they shared oils with their friends. And so now we have this whole group of people, many more than are in this photo. But the stories they have, you guys, the stories are amazing. I can't share all the exact details of their stories today because, well, we don't have enough time, number one. And number two, the FDA does limit what I share online about essential oils, and I have to be very careful not to compare them to medicinal things or pharmaceuticals or talk about diseases or things like that. But let me just say, the stories are real. And the stories are life-changing. And I have people in this picture even with massive health challenges who have found empowerment and solutions with essential oils. And so tonight we're going to talk about how to use oils for fly spray and udder cream and all that. But no, there's far more to these oils than just repelling insects, okay? There is so much to them. There's so much science, and they have so much potential to really be life-changing. So maybe in a little bit down the road, I'll do a different online class on more of the health benefits of essential oils, but just know they're a powerful, powerful little resource we have in a bottle. So that's where I'm at today. I can't stop sharing. I won't stop sharing. I know the impact these oils have had on my family and my homestead, and I want others to know that these solutions exist. They are out there. So that's essential oils in general, but what about homesteading? You know, I've actually received some criticism in the past for talking about essential oils on a homesteading blog. Yeah, believe it or not. Kind of crazy, huh? But people will email me and say, why are you talking about oils? That has nothing to do with homesteading. Come on, write about something else. And, when I get those, I kind of have to giggle to myself and say, are you serious? Because if you don't think essential oils and homesteading go together, you don't know essential oils very well. They're truly an amazing combination. So just to sum it up, let's break this down. First off, essential oils come from a plant. And if you ask me, plants and homesteaders kind of go together like peanut butter and jelly. So natural plant-based product. I mean, that says homesteader written all over it, right? Number two, they're very frugal. Essential oils, when you break down the price per drop, you're looking at pennies per drop or pennies per dose. So for example, let's take peppermint. I get my peppermint for $20 a bottle. That's wholesale. And I can show you how to get wholesale discount later on in tonight's class. So hang tight for that. So $20 a bottle for peppermint. In a 15 milliliter bottle, you have around 250 drops. Now, most applications, you're going to use about a drop. Now, for things like fly spray or things like that, you're going to use a bit more. But if you're putting oils on yourself or you're using them for health benefit, you're looking at a drop or two as a dose. If you break that down, do the math, that's 8 cents a drop or 8 cents a dose. I don't know very many things that are 8 cents a dose, right? Very few things. And so it's very affordable, and homesteaders love affordable, frugal options. Okay, number three, you can use essential oils for a ton of different applications. So a bottle of peppermint can be used for respiratory support, digestive support, putting on your head and neck if you feel tension. It can be put in bug sprays, plant sprays. It can be used on animals. It can help cool you when you're hot. That's amazing. And homesteaders, especially me, and I'm assuming you as well, we love things that have multiple uses. And so something that I can use on myself, my family, my kids, my animals, my plants for cleaning, in one bottle or just a handful of bottles, that is the homestead tool I want. And I can think of no better homesteading resource than essential oils. Okay, so let's dive into some of the specifics. First off, most of you are probably already aware of this, but in case you're brand new to oils, what are they? Seriously, what are essential oils? Well, they are natural aromatic compounds found in the seeds, flowers, bark, rind, or leaves of plants. Those plants are distilled, and then we use the resulting oil for all sorts of benefits. Essential oils contain various constituents inside, like chemical constituents in the oil, naturally occurring in different levels. Now, depending on the oil and the plant, these constituents have powerful effects on the human body or animals or against pests or for plants or whatever, okay? So there's these constituents inside this aromatic compound, this aromatic oil that we're using. Now, sometimes I have people come to me and say, All right, that's nice. Essential oils are just a fad. People are just into them like kale or beards, right? It's just another fad. People are going to get over it, whatever. Well, I beg to differ because essential oils are nothing new. Well, actually, plant based medicine is nothing new. And people have been using plants for thousands and thousands of years for health solutions. We know about it in the Bible. We have frankincense and myrrh, things like spikenard and cedarwood. The Egyptians we know used plant extracts for all sorts of things. The idea of plants as medicine is truly not a new concept. And so when we talk about using essential oils, which are simply distilled plants for different benefits, this is definitely not a fad. It's been knowledge that has been known for thousands of years. And if you ask me, I think it's been lost, the last 50 years, 100 years or so. And we're just starting to rediscover some of it. Now, one little note here, there is a lot of people who talk about essential oils in the Bible, and sometimes that bothers me just a little bit because it's a tiny bit misleading. You see, essential oils as we know them today, which are steam distilled or cold pressed liquid, they weren't quite available in that exact format in Bible times. Now, cultures absolutely use extracts or tinctures or the raw plant materials of these essential oils that we use today. But saying there's actual steam distilled essential oils in Bible times or beyond is a little bit misleading. So you have to be careful. It's just kind of a little pet peeve of mine. But know that yes, cultures back then were using these same plants for many of the same exact purposes that we use them for today, which is pretty awesome if you ask me. So there are a lot of essential oil companies to choose from, and I feel like it's really important that we get clear on this before we move forward, because if you're just using a random bottle of peppermint or lavender that you picked up at a discount shelf for $3 somewhere, I cannot guarantee you're going to have the same results. All essential oils are not created equal. And there's a lot of companies out there. They all make claims. And I know some of you are wondering if I have a company that I like, and I do. I have one company I've been using for over 4 years, almost 5 years. And I have stuck with them even though I have looked at many, many other companies to see what they have to offer. And so doTERRA is the company that I have chosen to stick with. And let me tell you why. This isn't going to take long, but it's very important that you know the difference. First off, doTERRA is committed to sourcing the best essential oils in the world straight from the grower. Many essential oil companies work with middlemen, so they don't really know where their oils are coming from. They're just buying them in bulk from some sort of supplier, and that makes the quality of the oils vary greatly. They can be very different from batch to batch. Also, there is an issue in the essential oil industry of the farmers and the growers not getting fairly compensated, especially in third world countries where many of these plants are grown. Middlemen come in, brokers come in, and the farmers do not receive a fair wage for their crops. And then you have things happening where maybe the farmers are harvesting the plants too early or not harvesting them correctly because in an effort to get more money for their work to feed their families. And so you have this kind of a domino effect of poor quality plants and poor quality oils happening, and then the farmers not getting enough to live on to begin with. So doTERRA knows this is an issue, and they have created something called co-impact sourcing, which is basically a commitment to ethical sourcing practices. And so they go in to communities, and especially in third world areas, and doTERRA works directly with growers to make sure they're getting fairly compensated for their product. In the process of working with these growers, doTERRA can also teach them how to better harvest or manage their crops so we get better yields and a higher quality oil. For example, we get our vetiver oil, which is a very deep, earthy oil from Haiti. And Haiti is a very impoverished country, so much, very, very hard place to live and a hard place to farm. There's just not a lot of economy there. And so these farmers were harvesting these vetiver roots, vetiver grows in the ground, early in an effort to get the crop to the middlemen faster so they could get their wage to have enough money for their families. So you have these immature plants that were being sent off, and as a result, the oil that was coming from those was not as high quality and it didn't have as much of the constituents we needed to see in a higher quality oil. So doTERRA went in, is paying the farmers more for their crops and is also showing them and helping them, encouraging them on how they can harvest better, keep the plants in the ground longer, and then we get a better oil in the process, and the farmers are better taken care of as well. And as a homesteader and as someone who's a fan of local economy, I love the fact that doTERRA supports these economies in these growing countries or these third world countries that don't have a lot of options. So that's huge and very important to me. These pictures here are really special. These are some trips I've been on. Over here on the left, this is me in a field of Melissa or lemon balm. This was in Bulgaria. Bulgaria is one of doTERRA's co-impact sourcing initiatives. Bulgaria is a tough country, and when we went there a couple months ago, I wasn't expecting it to feel like it did, and you can really feel still the effects of communism on the country. It's a very depressed country. The people don't smile very much, and they have a lot of poverty. So the cool thing is they also have a great climate for growing with the Mediterranean climate and the soil and the weather. And so doTERRA has gone into Bulgaria, worked with these farmers, and opened opportunities to have things like lavender and Melissa oil grow in Bulgaria. And so we got to visit with some of the growers and the mayor of one of these cities and see this distillery in action. And it was amazing to not only see the plants firsthand, but to see how it's impacting the communities. This picture up here on the right is my husband in Bulgaria. We were forking the lavender fresh from the fields into these giant steam distillation vats. Just amazing to be a part of that. Down here in the lower right-hand corner is me in Jamaica with ginger. We got to work with this farm school for young people in Jamaica, and they're planting ginger that we are going to use as part of our ginger oil harvest. So we got to work alongside these folks, and they're teaching these young people how to grow and plant and giving them an industry to be a part of. So that is why I stick with doTERRA. They are conscientious of the plants and the growers and the oils and us as the customer, and I truly appreciate that. Each batch of doTERRA oil undergoes 7 different testing procedures by a third-party laboratory as well. That means the end resulting oil surpasses USDA organic standards, and you can truly smell the difference when you open the bottle. I often tell people, go grab your oil from the health food store and grab a bottle of doTERRA oil and smell them side by side, and you will see the difference. Not all oils are created equal. How the plant is grown and the care that's taken as it's harvested and distilled absolutely makes a difference in the finished product. So, all of this to say, it does matter what type of oils you're using. If you're using oils and not getting results for things, especially health-related things, it's likely because, or it could be because, the oil you're using is not what it says that it is on the label, or it's not the quality that you think that you're getting, okay? So it is important, and pay attention to where you're getting your essential oils. Alrighty, so now you know what essential oils are, and now you know why it's important to choose the good ones. So let's get on to the recipes. First off, oils in the garden. Alrighty, so my gardening year is just about wrapping up, but I think this is my 2nd or 3rd year of using oils in the garden, and it's been really good results. So the first thing I want you to keep in mind when we talk about essential oils in gardening is don't get too hung up on exactly which oil you're going to use for these recipes. There's lots of options that can go with gardening, and so I made a list here of some of the best oils for gardening, and if you don't have some on the list, or you want to make a recipe and it calls for a certain oil, but you don't have that specific oil, you can substitute probably anything on this list, or substitute an oil that's similar in category. Just don't get hung up on too much exactness, especially with these garden sprays, because you do have some room to play around a bit. Okay, so a few of the oils that are great for gardening. Now these can be in pest repellent sprays or antifungal sprays, things like that. So peppermint, cedarwood, lemongrass, arborvitae, patchouli, sage, spearmint, rosemary, basil, thyme, lavender, oregano, melaleuca, aka tea tree oil, and clove. Okay, any of those are going to be great additions to garden sprays. Now, speaking of sprays, Here is my favorite pest control spray. I love this, and it uses a combination of raw whole ingredients with some peppermint essential oil, and it really packs a punch. Okay, so just going to walk you through quickly how I make this, and you're going to be getting a link with this recipe, so don't feel like you have to copy it. But I take onions and garlic, and you can either do mint leaves or peppermint essential oil. Now, I prefer the peppermint essential oil because it's stronger. But you put those things together in a blender, along with some cayenne pepper, because bugs don't like the spiciness of cayenne pepper, and you blend it up, okay? Just make a mash out of it. Now, one thing I did forget on here is you're going to want to add a cup of water to this recipe just to help the onion and the garlic blend up a little better. So you're just going to blend it all together and then let it soak in that water for a couple hours. Then once it's soaked, go ahead and strain this very concentrated liquid through a strainer and get rid of the chunks, because if you do chunks into your sprayer, it'll clog up your sprayer. Add it to a big 1-gallon container. And then you can add a couple tablespoons of soap. Now the soap just helps it to stick to the leaves better, so it doesn't rinse off quite as fast. And then you pour it into a spray bottle and spritz it on any plants being attacked by bugs. Now I do this a couple times a week, or if we get a heavy rain or I water heavily from a sprinkler, then I will go ahead and spray it on. It works really well. I've used it on my cabbage. My cabbage, broccoli, and things like that usually get attacked the worst. And this works really well as long as you're consistent. I've never had it burn a plant or cause issues with the plant. If you're spraying it on something you're going to eat, like lettuce, right away, maybe give it a little time, or just be sure to rinse it off really well. It's not going to hurt you like a pesticide if you eat it. It's just not going to taste very good at all. But, otherwise, spray it on parts of the plant that you might not eat, or just spray it enough in advance that you have a little bit of time before you harvest. Works great, though. I keep the spray bottle out in the garden, and it's one of my favorite garden remedies, and it puts those oils to great use. Now, you don't have peppermint, you could use another mint like spearmint, or you could even substitute another sort of herbal oil, like rosemary or basil or something like that. Alrighty, so speaking of sprays, that was a plant spray. Let's talk about animal sprays. This is kind of the same concept as I mentioned before. You can substitute or mix and match the exact essential oils in this recipe. So don't get hung up on having these 3 in particular. There's lots of options that'll work. But I love this spray for my cows, my horses, my goats. And it really came about because one day I was getting ready to milk our cow, Oakley. And if you don't spray your animals before you milk, you usually get hit in the face with their tails quite a bit because they don't like flies on them, right? So I was getting ready to spray her with this chemical fly spray. I thought, man, I'm going to spray her with this stuff, which is yucky, toxic, pesticides. And then I'm having this big bucket of raw milk that I'm going to go give to my kids. And who knows how much of that's floating down into the raw milk. And I'm like, this is not going to work for me anymore. I'm not doing this. So that I've got to figure out a different alternative. So that's where I came up with this fly spray. I've tweaked it a bunch over the years. I'll probably continue to tweak it, but it works really well. So we start with vinegar. I use raw apple cider vinegar, but you can use plain cheap white vinegar if you want. I use 60 drops of essential oil. And yes, you do need to use that much. You just put a couple drops in this recipe, you're not going to get as much repellent action. It does require around 60 drops. You can add more if you want. I wouldn't really recommend less, but you will need a good dose of essential oils in this spray. I add a few tablespoons of liquid oil. Olive oil, canola oil, mineral oil will work. You can use coconut oil, but only fractionated coconut oil. Do not use solid coconut oil because that will create a big gloppy mess. But the oil just helps the essential oils disperse more evenly in the liquid and coats the animal just a little bit. And then I like to use 1 tablespoon of dish soap in this as well, also just to help with the coating and the sticking. So it hangs out on the animal a little bit longer. Now, one important tip here Anytime you're making a mixture with vinegar, do not use Castile soap. So your dish soap can be, Dawn or a natural biodegradable dish soap brand like Seventh Generation, but don't use liquid Castile soap because when you mix vinegar and Castile soap, it causes this reaction. I think it's desaponification. Maybe I hope I said that right, but it causes the soap to turn into slimy, gucky mess, and it will clog your sprayer and it will ruin your spray. So make sure you're not using Castile soap in this recipe or any recipe that calls for vinegar. Use some other sort of dish soap. So mix everything together in a spray bottle. A 1 quart size spray bottle will work. And then apply to your animals frequently. Now, I'm going to tell you, this doesn't last quite as long as a chemical fly spray. You will need to apply it more, at least once a day, if the flies are really bad. But I still feel better because it's not putting these chemicals on my animals or anywhere near anything myself or my kids are going to eat or touch or come in contact to. Alrighty, udder balm. This is another recipe I love. Just the other day, my husband was in the barn. He called me and said, Oakley has a spot near her tail. What do I put on it? She needs some soothing, something on this tail spot. And so I'm like, grab the udder balm. This is a wonderful recipe. And you can use this for lots of other applications. You can turn this into hand cream. For yourself. You can turn this into a salve for animal skin irritations. You can do all sorts of things with this. It's a very basic homemade cream recipe. So we're going to start out with some beeswax, and that's going to make our balm, give it enough firmness. And then we're going to use some shea butter and coconut oil and some olive oil or calendula infused oil. Calendula is an herb, a flowering herb, and it's wonderful for soothing skin. And so I like to use dried calendula flowers and infuse it into my olive oil to make this, but you don't have to. You can use just plain olive oil as well. So you're going to follow the directions here, melt everything together. Then once it cools, it's still liquid, but it's slightly cooled. Then you're going to add in 2 drops of lavender oil and 2 drops of melaleuca or tea tree oil. That's not a lot of essential oil in this recipe. You can definitely add more if you wish. That's what I start with. And the lavender and melaleuca are extremely soothing to skin, especially if there's irritation or marks on the skin. So once you let it cool, stir in your essential oils and then pour into a small glass or plastic container. And when it's all set up, you can use it. I like to use it after milking. If you are in wintertime where it's cold, you'll want to keep this in the house because it turns rock solid when it gets cold, and it's really annoying to try to get it to come out of the container. So, keep it in your house or put it in your coat pocket, and keep it there if it's cold outside. Otherwise, you can just leave it in your barn. It doesn't need to be refrigerated or anything like that. But you can apply it after milking. You can apply it when there are cuts or scrapes on the udder. Sometimes the calf will bite the udder and you'll have marks. I've never had an issue with a calf refusing the udder after I applied this. And I don't worry about the calf licking it off. It's not an issue. There's nothing in there that's going to hurt the calf. And it's never caused a calf to deny the udder or anything like that. So it's very good. It's soothing. Smells good. Oakley always will stand. I usually don't even have to put a halter on her. I can just walk up to her and put this on her udder, and she really enjoys it. Now, you can also use this as an animal salve for maybe owies or scrapes or things for horses or cows or other animals. You could use the exact same essential oils, or you could add in a few things like maybe a couple drops of frankincense essential oil or cedarwood or myrrh essential oil. Those are all great for skin and supporting that regeneration process. And so those are all options. Now, one little note about using oils on animals. Most animals love oils, and the oils can provide animals with the same benefits that they provide humans. But my rule of thumb is I like to offer an oil to an animal and kind of let them make a choice on it before I apply it to them. So if I'm using, let's say, frankincense on my horse, maybe it has a skin irritation, before I just slather the frankincense on my horse, I like to hold the bottle, take the lid off or put a drop in my hand and hold it out to the horse and let the horse smell it. And usually the horse will respond favorably, or they'll smell it, or, curl their lip, or come towards it. Sometimes the animals will even try to lick the oil off your hand. Sometimes animals will be like, I don't like that, and they'll try to get away from the smell. And so I try to respect that. I figure I wouldn't want someone, forcing me to have an oil that I didn't like the smell of or that was really offensive to me. And so I kind of let the animals tell me if they love it or if they hate it. Most of the time they love it, but every once in a while, I had a dog who really didn't like certain oils, and so I just didn't put those on her. I thought that was just kind of the nice thing to do. If it was me, that's what I would want someone to do with me. So just a little note, but most of the time, animals and essential oils go together quite well. Now, chickens, a little note on chickens. I get this question a lot. Can you use essential oils on chickens? Well, the answer is it depends on who you talk to, I guess. Some people will say never, never, never oils on birds because oils are toxic to birds. And I tend to be of the opinion that you're going to want to be very careful how you're using oils around chickens because birds are pretty sensitive. However, there's been a few times I had chickens that really needed some extra support, and I'm trying to be FDA compliant here. So if I'm sounding a little bit weird with my phrasing, that's why. I'd love to give you all the gory details, but I can't legally. But I had a chicken with an issue with her foot, and it was pretty considerable. And so I knew really our only option was to address this issue on her foot. So I used essential oils on her, diluted. I didn't use gobs of essential oils. I used small amounts, diluted, and it did help her foot get better. But, I wouldn't go dump a bunch of oil all over your birds, especially tea tree oil. There have been a few instances where that was toxic to birds. Now, I think it was in very large quantities, and I have used tea tree oil on a chicken before, and it did not hurt the chicken. But a little bit of a word of warning. If you are going to use oils in your on your birds or in your chicken coop, use them with caution. Use very small amounts. I do have a coop spray, like an air freshener spray I use with oils. Never had a problem. But again, it's being diluted in a large airspace, and I'm not sitting there dumping oils right on a chicken in large quantities. Not that I think you would do that anyway, but just FYI, use caution. Alrighty, so those are some of my best animal tips. What about human tips? Because as homesteaders, your body takes a beating. You guys work hard. You do a lot with your hands and your muscles, and sometimes we don't always take care of ourselves. So this is one of my favorite remedies after I've been outside, and I try to cover up when I'm gardening or working, or wear long sleeves or put on sunscreen that sometimes I forget. Don't tell my mom. And you get a little crispy, right? So I don't like that feeling of being crispy. It makes me grumpy. It makes me tired. It's uncomfortable to wear, clothes on top of crispy skin. So this is my favorite remedy, and it will provide instant relief. So I had around a half cup of witch hazel or water, and I mix that with some aloe vera gel. Aloe vera gel is very soothing to skin that's been burned. And then I add 10 drops of lavender and 10 drops of peppermint. Now, you are going to want to stick to these oils because I chose them for a reason. Lavender is very, very soothing to skin, and peppermint is cooling. So this combination helps the redness dissipate, and it feels really, really good when you're hot. So put all it in together, mix it up, and then spritz it on your crispy skin, and you will feel the results immediately. You can reapply very often, every 15-20 minutes if needed. And this has really made the difference between me being down and out after getting, spending all day in the sun, or me being able to bounce right back. So love this. We use it on our kids. Every member of our family uses this. It is wonderful. You will love it. Okay, so I didn't really mention very many doTERRA specific oils today because I know some of you use other brands, or you might not have them, but I have to give a shout out to this because it is a game changer, you guys. This is Deep Blue. This is doTERRA specific. It's a blend created by doTERRA, and it is for muscles and joints. And as a homesteader, you need this oil. I'm just going to tell you, you got to have it. after you're building fence, or you're digging in your garden, or you're chasing animals, or you're learning how to milk. Muscles and joints take a beating, and this is so soothing. It's a minty sort of blend. You can purchase it in just the essential oil blend, or you can purchase it in the suspended in a lotion, the rub, deep blue rub. It's fantastic. You can use it all over your body. It's awesome. It's a game changer, and everybody that I share this with, I have little sample packets, and I share them with people who come over, and they rave about it. So I had to include it today. It's fantastic for those long days of being outside on the homestead and you come in and you're tired and sore. Speaking of those long days, let's talk about our hands. I don't know about you, but I do not like wearing gloves when I'm gardening. It's just, I don't know, I just feel like they get in my way. So I'll go out there and happily dig with my bare hands, and then I come in that evening and they're cracked and they're feeling gross and dry and raspy. So I love this hand cream. I especially designed it for people who are using their hands outside in the dirt, and it's really soothing, and I can go to bed with this on and wake up the next morning and my hands feel back to normal. So it's very similar to the Udder Balm. Shea butter, almond oil, and beeswax, melted, cool slightly, and then mix in myrrh and cedarwood essential oil. These are both oils that are renowned for their skin soothing and restorative properties. They're fantastic for skin. So it's going to be great for irritated, cracked, dry, any of those things. Apply it. I don't feel like this is extra greasy, and I've had many of you email me and say you thought the consistency was perfect. If you're sensitive to greasy mixtures, maybe just put it on before bed. But it's really nourishing and thick, and it helps those dry hands so much. So one of my favorite homestead remedies for hard working hands. And you can use lavender, frankincense, you could use other things here, but my favorites are myrrh and cedarwood for this recipe. Alrighty, so that wraps up my recipes. And just as we kind of wrap up the rest of the video, here's the deal, guys. I'm a big fan of balance. And I am not against modern medicine or modern remedies at all. So we talked about some alternatives today, but I want you to know that, I'm not against in all aspects what we have in our society as modern medicine. So I think of it as a pendulum. So on one side of the pendulum, I've had some amazing results from modern medicine, and some of you might be surprised to hear me say that. Last year, some of you know this, you were following me then, my son came down with a very severe eye infection. Holy cow, that pendulum's kind of annoying. I'm going to stop it. Sorry. Might go crazy while I'm talking. Okay. My son came down with a very serious eye infection, and without immediate intervention that he had, and without the antibiotics that he was given, he would have lost his eye. It was very serious. Also, a couple years ago, my daughter, she was 3 at the time, came down with a horrible ear infection. The only ear infection anyone in my family has had. Crazy. We don't get ear infections, but she came down with it. Ended up with mastoiditis, which is a bone infection. And she would have died without the antibiotics. Back in the day, people died from that. It was very serious. We had to have her hospitalized. She had to take some very hard-hitting antibiotics to get the infection out of her bone. It was very scary and very serious. So please know I am not against modern medicine and modern remedies. I believe that there are a lot of big advancements that we've been blessed with over the last 150 years. And honestly, that's going back to the little house on the prairie days where people died from simple infections is not something I want to do. As much as I love old-fashioned things, that's a part of old-fashioned that I don't care to go back to. However, I've also seen the other side. And my grandpa is a wonderful example of that. My grandpa grew up in the Great Depression. And as he grew up, many of these medical advances and antibiotics came into popularity and became more common and more attainable. So as a result of that, he thought it was awesome. He thought everything modern medicine and everything pharmaceutical was the best thing ever. And he really looked to medication and pharmaceuticals as his savior in everything he did. Therefore, as a result of decades of this philosophy that he had, my entire childhood was me watching my mom be his caretaker. And it started as in the 70s as this procedure he had that went wrong, and then he had medicine after medicine after medicine that would try to fix the procedure results, and then he'd get side effects from the medicine, and then he'd have to take another medicine to fix those side effects and another medicine to fix those side effects. And literally the last 15 years of his life he was an invalid, and much of that was directly related to this horrible domino effect of these medications and these pharmaceuticals. So I've seen both sides, okay? I've seen modern medicine and its life-saving advancements, and I've seen it go terribly wrong where we depend on it too much and we're not taking charge of our health care, and we really become disempowered and lost. So I've seen both sides, and I crave having options. So the problem I see a lot of people having is they get stuck on the pendulum swinging one way or the other, okay? So we have people who are either way over here and doing all modern medicine all the time, or we have someone who's way over here and they are not using anything. They don't trust any option out there, and they feel stuck and they don't have the options or solutions they need when they want balance. Now, the other problem I see when people finally start exploring natural remedies, herbs, essential oils, whatever, they either get overwhelmed with all the options. I mean, if you've ever Googled natural remedies, holy moly, it's just overwhelming, the amount of information. And most of it contradicts each other, which is even worse. So people get overwhelmed, or they might try one oil or one option, and it doesn't quite work like they thought it would, and then they give up and go back to pharmaceuticals. And so I see a lot of people stuck and a lot of people in this same very frustrating rut. When that happens, they don't have solutions, they're not empowered, and nothing changes. Now, for those of you who are here with me on this video, I don't want that for you. And that's why I'm sharing this information with you today. Are essential oils a miracle solution? Nope, they're not. But they have created empowerment for me more than anything else I've tried on my natural living journey. For the last 8 years, these have been the single most life-changing aspect of the natural options I have implemented. And that's why I teach these classes, is I want you to have these same options both in your barn and in your own health. And for many of the people, many of you through the blog, who I have helped get started using oils over the past few years, it has truly made all the difference. You know, they've had these same sort of experiences, and I absolutely love it when that happens. So, quickly I want to ask your permission if I can share with you how you can get these same solutions, because I am really excited about the options that we have here. So the question comes up all the time on how to get good oils for the best prices. So yes, Walmart and Target have oils. They do. I've seen them. And I'm going to be very bold and upfront with you today and tell you they are not what they say they are, okay? Like I said before, not all oils are created equal. You will not have the same results with those oils. I have seen the test results of Walmart oils, and what they're calling lavender oil is not lavender oil. It's something else entirely. Because there are no regulatory agencies in the essential oil industry, you can label an oil pretty much whatever you want, and no one's going to come and crack down on you and say, no, that's not correct. Okay, there are no regulatory bodies. And so I see people going to Walmart or going wherever and getting these cheap oils. They try it and they say it doesn't work. Essential oils are a scam, and they give up, and they never get to see the results that they could have and the results that I've had. Like I told you before, I trust doTERRA. I've seen their fields, I've seen their distilleries, I know the owners personally, and I've seen the results. So if you're looking to get oils that work on your homestead or in your medicine cabinet or in your cleaning cupboard, and you want to be able to do it for discounted prices, I would love to share that with you now. So there are two options that you have: retail and wholesale. So most everyone I work with goes for the wholesale option. And let me tell you why. As a wholesale member, it's very much like having a Costco or a Sam's Club membership. You do not have to own a store. You don't have to buy in massive bulk to get the discount. And you do not have to sell oils, and you do not have to purchase monthly in order to get this wholesale membership. Now, side note, a lot of people do order monthly, and you actually get some more perks for ordering monthly, but it's not a requirement. So wholesale saves you 25% over retail. And I have many folks who've more than paid for the cost of that $35 membership within their very first wholesale order. So it's almost always worth it to start with wholesale. The wholesale membership lasts for a full year, and you get that 25% off on everything you buy automatically for that full year. You don't have to use coupon codes or anything like that. Automatically applied. So we have a couple options within the wholesale. First off, you can just pay your $35 membership fee, just like Costco, and then custom create a kit. Now your kit might be a selection of some of the oils we talked about today, homesteader specific oils. I'm happy to help you with that custom kit creation. You just pay your fee, and then you just get everything you want in your kit for wholesale prices. Very simple. That's option number one. Option number two is you can start with a pre-made kit that includes that membership fee, that $35, and a selection of the most common oils. Now, there are a bunch of different kits, but for the sake of simplicity, this is the one that most people I work with start with. It includes frankincense, lavender, peppermint, lemon, oregano, melaleuca or tea tree oil, a digestive blend, a blend for immunity, a blend for respiratory support. That's the oil that initially sold me on this whole thing, was that respiratory blend. The deep blue muscle and joint blend, and a diffuser. So you get all of that in one kit. All those oils, or most of those oils, are oils that I talked about already today. You're going to be able to make your fly sprays, your animal sprays, your people sprays, your hardworking homesteader type of lotions and things. You can make that with the oils in this kit. Diffuser is awesome for your home. My poor little farmhouse takes a beating when it comes to animals and stinky children, and so I use my diffusers constantly just to help the air be cleaner and smell better. So you will want a diffuser, I promise you. And of course, you get that wholesale membership included as well. Also, when you start with a kit, either create your own kit or the Home Essentials kit, you are partnered with me. And so you're going to get a welcome packet from me. I'm going to pair you up with one of our very knowledgeable team mentors, and they're going to give you a 30-minute phone consult to help you get started so you know exactly how to use your oils, where to get information, and so on. And then you get access to all of our training and support. So you're going to, me along with all these people in this picture, we're all a part of our larger team. We have trainings, phone calls, mentor calls, Facebook groups, free oil giveaways, all sorts of things that happen, and you get paired up with that when you start with the link in the email that is going to come to you from after you registered. So you get a partner with me, you get all those perks, and my gift to you, also when you sign up with that link that's coming in that email, you get a free reference guide. I love this book. It is amazing. It's 448 pages. It's hardcover. It has recipes. It has remedies. It has protocols. You can look up everything from first aid to gardening to how to make gifts and cooking with oils, cleaning with oils. You're going to find a reference section where you can look up different issues you might be dealing with and find corresponding oils for it. So if you have any sort of hesitancy about knowing how to use oils in a kit that you might get, this is the answer. And when you start with that Home Essentials kit or an equivalent kit, I'm going to personally mail this to you for free. Now, this is going to expire because I have a limited number of these books. And so in the email that you're going to be getting from me, I will have that expiration date and when you can sign up in order to qualify for this free book. But you're going to love this book, and it's going to come straight from me when you sign up with the link in that email. So to get started, you can wait for the link in the email, or you can go to this link. theprairiehomestead.com/go/oil. So you can go there, you can read more about the wholesale membership if you need a little more information or you want to see more of the options. And then at the bottom, you can click the Join Now link, and that will send you to the secure website where you input your information, pick your kit, and go from there. And then once you do that, please send me an email so I can welcome you and I can put you on the list for your book, as long as you were able to order within that little window before that offer expires. So I hope today's video was helpful for you. I had a blast sharing some of my favorite remedies. These things really work for me, and I think you're going to find they really work for you as well. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to me via email or through the blog, and I'd be happy to help you out and point you in the direction of any information you might need. So thanks again for watching, and happy oiling. We'll talk to you soon.